March 18, 2025, Washington, D.C.
For more than 60 years, America has searched for an answer, hidden inside one of its greatest mysteries. Thousands of long-hidden files were finally becoming public. For decades, the Kennedy assassination remained one of America's biggest mysteries. More than 60 years had passed since Dallas. But the newest files were raising questions few expected. Researchers began searching through thousands of newly released pages. Historians compared the documents against decades of investigation. Journalists looked for revelations that might change history. Many expected answers. Instead, they found something far more complicated. November 22, 1963, Dallas, Texas. A presidential motorcade moved through crowded city streets. Thousands watched as history unfolded in real time. Then, within seconds, everything changed. America suddenly faced a moment that would echo for generations. Investigators quickly focused on a key figure connected to the case. Evidence was gathered, and timelines were reconstructed. The nation expected a public trial and definitive answers. But those expectations would never be fulfilled. Before the trial could begin, the only suspect was dead. In the months that followed, investigators worked to reconstruct every detail. Witness statements, photographs, and physical evidence were examined. 1 year later, the Warren Commission published its findings. The commission concluded that Harvey Oswald acted alone. But instead of ending the debate, the report became the beginning of a new one. Books appeared. Independent researchers launched their own investigations. Television specials and documentaries introduced new audiences to the mystery. Over time, dozens of competing theories emerged. Some focused on intelligence agencies. Others focused on foreign governments. Yet despite decades of debate, no theory achieved universal acceptance. As the years passed, the mystery began to change. The debate was no longer focused only on Dallas. Attention gradually turned toward government records that remained hidden from public view. Boxes filled with documents sat inside secure archives for decades. And the longer those files remained sealed, the more powerful the mystery became. In 1992, Congress responded to growing public pressure. The JFK Records Act ordered assassination-related records to be preserved and released. Millions of pages eventually entered the National Archives. Year after year, more documents became available to researchers.
Yet some records continued to remain restricted, fueling endless speculation.
Then, in 2025, one of the largest JFK Records releases in history, thousands of previously restricted pages became available to the public. Researchers rushed to examine records that had remained hidden for decades.
Many expected a single document capable of changing everything.
But the first surprise was that no dramatic smoking gun immediately appeared. Instead, the records revealed a much larger world surrounding the assassination. A world shaped by espionage, surveillance, and Cold War tensions. Inside the files were intelligence reports, diplomatic communications, and surveillance records.
The documents revealed how aggressively governments monitored potential threats during the Cold War.
And buried within those records was a familiar name that kept appearing again and again. That individual was Harvey Oswald. Historical records already showed that intelligence agencies had taken interest in him before November 1963. The newly released files provided additional context about those observations. But context and proof are not the same thing. The records expanded understanding, but they did not automatically change established conclusions.
Historians remain divided on the significance of some newly released material.
Some researchers argued that the files revealed institutional failures rather than hidden conspiracies. Information moved through layers of agencies, departments, and reporting structures. Others believed unanswered questions still remained. They still remained inside the historical record. The debate continued because different people interpreted the same evidence in different ways. As more records became public, another question began to emerge. Why had some records remained hidden for so long? Government agencies argued that some information still involved sensitive intelligence matters. Some records contained references to intelligence sources, methods, and international relationships. Yet every year of secrecy made public expectations even larger. By the time the major releases arrived, expectations had reached extraordinary levels. Some expected evidence of a conspiracy.
Others hoped the files would finally provide a definitive answer.
But as researchers moved deeper into the files, the story became far more complicated. Instead of one answer, the records revealed layers of historical context. By this point, the story was no longer only about an assassination. It had become a story about secrecy, a story about trust, and a story about how societies remember historic events. How much can any generation truly know? Because every withheld page created a simple but powerful question. Government agencies often protect information for reasons unrelated to a crime itself. Sources, intelligence methods, and foreign relationships can remain sensitive for decades. Yet every delay also allowed suspicion to grow. Over time, the secrecy itself became part of the mystery. And for many Americans, that mystery became just as important as the assassination itself. By 2026, researchers had examined more records than ever before. Millions of pages had been reviewed, cataloged, and analyzed. The historical record was larger than at any point in the past 60 years. Yet complete agreement remained as distant as ever. And that may be the most revealing discovery of all. The new files expanded knowledge, but they did not eliminate debate. They clarified details, revealed context, and deepened historical understanding. But they also demonstrated how difficult it is to reconstruct history with perfect certainty. The search for answers continues, because the search itself has become part of the story. After 60 years, millions of pages, and countless investigations, Americans may still be asking the same question. Are they searching for what happened that day? Or for a certainty that history may never be able to provide?